Andrew Romero can't even pretend to be sorry. Found guilty last week. This is decision day.
All rise.
It's up to the judge to punish Romero for gunning down Rio Rancho officer Greg Benner.
My name is Julie Benner. I'm Officer Greg Benner's wife.
Julie Benner spoke of the last time she kissed her husband, the lonely nights without him, and reliving the nightmare Memorial Day 2015 when he faced death on duty.
Andrew Romero sentenced me to a life without Greg, a life alone.
Officer Benner's close friend on the force said this career criminal has no remorse.
During the trial, I watched the arrogant Andrew Romero scoff and find amusement in the videos and photographs of my friend laying in the street.
It has been easy to paint him into a devil and a monster.
The defense called this a terrible end to a terrible tragedy and noted he's still someone's son, grandson, or brother.
And he's going to spend the rest of his life in a concrete box.
The prosecutor wasn't having any of that.
There are a lot of victims in this case, but I'm sorry, Andrew Romero is not one of them.
What I would really like to happen to you, I can't say in court because I'd probably be removed from office.
Judge George Eichwald told Romero to listen to 5 words.
You will die in prison.
It was a day of raw emotion.
Big win. Justice served.
Julie Benner received her husband's badge
He's so proud of this.
and gave her thoughts on the defense humanizing Romero.
Whether he's somebody's son, brother, whatever, I mean, he made that decision to murder Greg.
The deputy can take money.
And another day, and another smirk from Andrew Romero.
A man police say was barely old enough to drive when he gunned down 3 people in Providence is going to prison for the rest of his life. He was sentenced today for the 2012 murders of Shamika Barros, Michael Martin, and Damian Colon. Tonight, we're hearing from the family of one of the victims. Eyewitness News reporter Jared Kleiner is live in studio tonight with the new details.
Shannon, the last several months have seen a parade of criminal defendants through court tied to this conspiracy, but Russell Burrell is the admitted trigger man. In a state that has no death penalty, 6 life sentences plus a decade is about as severe as it comes. And it came via Superior Court Justice Robert Krause Monday upon 19-year-old Russell Burrell. Burrell was just 16 when he murdered Shamika Barros, Damian Colon, both 22, and Michael Martin, 23, at Providence's Maplewood Terrace Apartments in July 2012. Damian Colon was simply visiting his friends. Colon's mother and grandmother took the chance to confront Russell Burrell.
You took the life of her son, my grandson, for what? You committed a horrible, evil act, murdering 3 precious persons, resulting from your sick soul.
Every day comes with the struggle of having to walk past his bedroom door. Another day that shall pass without hearing his voice or seeing a smile that would light up a room. There's a void and a hole and an emptiness in my life that will never be filled.
Burrell and 3 others conspired to rob Michael Martin of marijuana and cash, forcing their way into his apartment. Burrell executed Martin and Colon with a 9mm Glock in the rear of the home. He then murdered Shamika Barros, who had awoken from a nap. 3 young children were also in the apartment at the time, but were unhurt.
I don't desire revenge, but I do ask for justice and to impose the maximum penalty as the law allows.
The bench complied.
Joanne, this is the preliminary exam where the judge decides if there's enough evidence in this case for it to move forward to a trial. We've already heard that this preliminary exam alone could take upwards of 5 days or more. And in court right now, we know there is an officer on the stand describing what happened the night of October 28th. Stephen Guzina is charged with 7 counts, including second-degree murder and operating while intoxicated. Police say Officer Myron Jarrett was walking around a crash scene that night assisting with an investigation when Guzina drove through that scene, hitting Officer Jarrett. Here's how police on the stand described those moments.
Yelling to Officer Jarrett, telling him to back up, saying that this car was coming too quick. Once I opened my eyes, it was kind of smoky. Once the dust settled, I looked out of the front windshield and I seen Officer Jarrett up under the other scout car that was at my scene.
And we're told Guzina drove away from that scene, leaving his van nearby. Then he ran away. He was arrested less than 24 hours after that alleged hit and run. And as you mentioned, Joanne, there were tense moments in court even before this hearing began. And that's because Guzina fired his attorney around 10 o'clock last night, retaining somebody else. So in court this morning, defense actually asked for this hearing to be delayed. Prosecution got upset, saying that it would impact the victim's family and Officer Jarrett's officers, forcing them to continue to wait on this potential trial. In the end, the judge decided that wasn't right. They did move forward with that hearing, and the defense attorney who was fired is in court right now laying out the details.
Social Circle Police Chief Tyrone Oliver says he fired James Sanders, an 8-year veteran on the force, after this incident on North Cherokee Road. He says Sanders was already on one traffic stop with another officer when this black Jeep passed by and someone yelled out a profanity-laced remark against police. That's when Oliver says Sanders followed the car, pulled it over, and asked the passengers to get out.
F the police. I'm sorry. The TN kept saying no. I don't want to do that. And he's like, no, you're a tough guy. And you want to, here I am. If you want to F me up, F me up.
Oliver says the video also shows Sanders threatening to search the Jeep and everyone inside.
If I go to jerking everybody out of that Jeep and I find 1 ounce of weed, do you think I'm going to take everybody to jail? In this profession, we have to have tough skin. I mean, people say things to us all the time. And you just kind of have to let it roll off your back and keep going and doing your job and do it right. He did state that he pulled him over for failure to maintain lane. And when you look at the video, the vehicle did hit the white line, but it was after he was coming up on a high rate of speed.
Oliver adds Sanders has 3 other disciplinary actions on his record, including a written reprimand in 2014 for allegedly threatening staff at a high school while on duty.
Painted by the judge as she handed down the verdict in the Ross Harris murder case. Last month, jurors found Harris guilty of intentionally leaving his 22-month-old son Cooper in a hot car to die and of sending inappropriate messages to teenage girls while Cooper died.
And Fox 5 has live team coverage of this sentencing. Let's start with Fox 5's Angelique Proctor at the Cobb County Courthouse. And Angelique, you were in the courtroom every moment of this trial. You were there too as the judge told Harris that he'd never get out of jail.
Sinead, what a defining moment in this case. The judge told Ross Harris he will spend the rest of his natural life in prison. Now, the defense had very little to say during this 30-minute hearing.
The evidence showed that this defendant was driven by selfishness and committed an unspeakable act against his own flesh and blood in this case.
3 weeks ago, a Glenn County jury agreed with prosecutors and convicted Ross Harris of murdering his own son by leaving little Cooper to bake to death in his SUV. The state asked for the maximum sentence, life in prison without parole plus 32 years on related charges. The defense, almost stoic, is focused on an appeal and presented no arguments.
For the defense.
We have no arguments.
You need to be standing up when you speak to me.
We have no arguments.
Thank you.
Judge Mary Staley Clark praised the jury in the complex case, calling them diligent and conscientious, then rendered her sentence.
With the jury having found the defendant guilty, sentence of the court is life to serve in confinement without parole.
The judge's final thought, Harris indicated he wanted to be an advocate against hot car deaths.
I would say, perhaps not in the way that you intended, but you in fact have accomplished that goal.
Now, the defense apparently did not want to show their hand, but did indicate today they will file an appeal over the next 30 days.
So we're still pulling together information on this. I can tell you Atlanta police just leaving the scene after this call came in almost 3 hours ago now. But take a look at the crime scene from earlier this morning. We can tell you Atlanta police say they came here to respond to a call about a situation with domestic violence, found a man shot dead, and they are now talking to a woman. Here's what police are telling us about what they've learned so far.
The information that we receive right now that there was some type of verbal altercation and then escalated into the shooting. We're not sure how the gun played into it, and again, that's what we need to figure out exactly what happened. We're also being told that there may have been some other people inside the apartment complex, and we also have to get their statement. So
Now, I can tell you we have been asked to actually leave the property here, Deerfield Garden apartment complex, but we did have a chance just to talk to a couple of residents from the apartment who said that they'd seen and heard arguing at this particular unit where this shooting took place. But we're still trying to piece together some information and still trying to get a sense of who the victim is and what happened in the moments leading up to that shooting, and we'll be certain to keep you posted.
Come to unanimous decision in the case of the state versus Michael Slager. Is that correct, Mr. Foreman?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, the court therefore must declare a mistrial in this case.
A South Carolina judge declaring a mistrial Monday in the case of Michael Slager, the former North Charleston police officer accused of fatally shooting a 50-year-old black man named Walter Scott. Slager had pulled Scott over for having a broken taillight in April of 2015. A witness's cell phone video appears to show Slager shooting Scott in the back multiple times as Scott fled the traffic stop.
Today, I'm not sad, and I know that justice will be served.
Video of the shooting quickly went viral and sparked outrage. Now community leaders in the Charleston area are calling for calm.
I really don't understand the outcome of today. Given the evidence, given the overwhelming evidence, believe what your eyes see evidence.
After deliberating more than 22 hours, the jury was unable to unanimously agree on a verdict for Slager.
Our knowledge of what happened is unwavering, and Michael Slager will face justice in this. It's just been delayed.
The judge had told jurors they could consider a lesser voluntary manslaughter charge.
The fight isn't over. That was round one. We've got 2 more rounds to go. The solicitor is trying this case again as soon as she can. The DOJ is trying this case as soon as they can.
Tom Haynes, South Carolina's governor, says she hopes a new trial will bring a new verdict that will mean closure for the Scott family. Slager's wife and his attorney did not respond to the questions as they left.
Home video shows the innocence of Riley Johnson. The young boy was killed in February inside this Arapahoe County apartment. Prosecutors accuse his own father, Brandon, in his murder. They say he stabbed his son after raping his ex-girlfriend. Today, Johnson sat in court as prosecutors made their case for the death penalty and won.
This is Colorado's law. This isn't my law.
District Attorney George Brockler wouldn't get into specifics as to why he pushed for the death penalty, but had this to say to his critics, including the ACLU, who called the death penalty a broken, racially biased system.
At the end of the day, the track we're on now is going to give the public, as represented by 12 members that are picked by both sides, the opportunity to decide what the appropriate sentence here, if anything, is, if we get past the guilt phase.
If a jury finds Johnson guilty and agrees to sentence him to death, it won't happen, at least for now. In 1996, this man, Nathan Dunlap, was sentenced to death after killing 4 people at a Chuck E. Cheese. As his execution date approached, Governor Hickenlooper issued a moratorium, calling the system imperfect.
The governor ultimately is the one who gets to decide whether or not an individual is killed while he's in office.
Governor Hickenlooper's term is up in 2018. District Attorney George Brockler, whose name has been mentioned as a Republican candidate for governor, has sought the death penalty before in the Aurora movie theater shooting. In that case, though, the jury could not agree to a death sentence.